In reflection on his mayoralty and also reflection on the government and giving some of his expertise in that, our guest is Louis Lee Singh on Brunch this morning.
All right, Louis, let's take it to Mayor. And I'm seeing here the Appendix 1 in your book, Conspiracy Against the People, a really nice, beautiful list of things to do when you assumed Mayor of Port of Spain. And I mean, this is a list that speaks to every single Trinbagonian.
I went in there with the list, you know.
Yeah, the list says, one, first and foremost, most important, how do we create a cleaner city?
Mm-hmm.
How do we create a user-friendly city, a safer city, a tourist-friendly city, centers of entertainment, making the Port of Spain Corporation more effective, and all of that. You went in there 3 years, 2010 to 2013. You had this wonderful list, that's the list at the top of every Trinidadian's mind. How come? How come? It reached the point where you got embroiled in politics. You were at the point of being impeached. Your councillors turned against you because of party politics. How come you did not? How come Port of Spain is not cleaner? Why aren't you? Why isn't what you said and this list? Hasn't this list has been an impact on the city? One, and why isn't this list passed on to your successor?
All right, you ask some interesting points. First of all, I think we left Port of Spain better than we met it, which was an oath we took at our very first meeting. Mm-hmm. My council and I, we took an oath, and I had everybody stand up and put up their hand and swear that we promised to leave Port of Spain better than we met it. Mm. And in a sense, the history speaks to that. I think we left Port of Spain cleaner than we met it.
In 2013, it has since returned.
Well, I can't speak for what is going on now. And, you know, in the book, I make mention of a conversation I had with Dr. George Lakis. Mm-hmm. And he says to me, Louis, tell me something that you did. So I told him 10 things. He said, no, but I tell you, did you achieve anything? I say, yes. And I listed. He said, well, I'm telling you, you ain't achieved nothing. I had to see him. I saw him at lunch, I think it's this week or last week. I said, George, Doc, I have to admit, give me 5. He said, for what? I said, you're correct. I didn't achieve anything. And I was speaking towards an issue where on Arapita Avenue, for 2 weeks, I saw three platforms of speakers on the pavement outside Coco Lounge. 3. They blocked the pavement for 3 weeks with a speaker tower. Now, when I inquired about it, I was advised that the proprietor of the place, I don't know, and then I saw Philip Alexander put out a post on it. I was advised that the proprietor of that establishment paid the mayor's fund $40,000 for that service. Now, that is craziness.
That is crazy, yes.
I see they put up a big billboard in Adam Smith Square.
Yes, I saw it. Yeah.
That couldn't happen. That ought not to happen. It is almost as if something is wrong. But then again, that is Dr. Rowley's judgment. If you choose the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Federation, Association, who by extension is going to be the FIFA man, you know, he's the new FIFA man, but he has been Jack Warner's number 2 man for 20 odd years. But you choose that man to be the mayor. The man is really in office. I don't know. People complain. They meet me in the street all the time. They say they can't get to see the mayor. No, I am not going to compare my approach to the job to anybody else because he probably is achieving much more than I am. But I'll tell you, based on the things that I have seen publicized in the papers, nothing additional has been done to the office in the last 2 years. You know, every time they commission a vehicle, it is because I succeeded in getting that done. I got the monies approved and so on and so forth. And so, in more ways than one, Sharmain, you asked me a question, and the title of the book speaks to that. Conspiracy against the people. I could speak all day on that, but the reality is this. that you elect people to office, and even in the context of their political organization, they are elected by the very people who elect the MP. But in the context of the hierarchical structure of the party, the MP lords over the district councillors as though she is the boss. When in fact, it's the same people who elected them. It is almost as if the country does not recognize that district councillors are elected officials of the state and therefore ought to be treated in a special way.
But therein is the genesis of your issue with Molly McDonald. That's what it is, because almost all of Port of Spain South. So that's it.
No, my genesis with Miss McDonald runs deeper than that. I believe you ought not to volunteer for the job if you're not prepared to do it with all your heart and your whole soul and your whole spirit. Yeah. That's how I know it. When I volunteered to be the president of Eastern Credit Union, for the 12 years I was the president of Eastern Credit Union, I received a monthly stipend of $100 a month to pay for my gas. The president of Eastern Credit Union now gets a kind of CEO salary in a financial institution.
Yeah. One of the most critical issues outside of what's happening within the city and the fact that it is the capital city and it is run down and it appears dirty and all of that, is that issue of Augustine Lane, right? That link road between Belmont and Gonzales. What you said that you said more than a year the people of Augustine Lane have been requesting rehabilitative works and there were 2 homes in precarious situations. But you didn't get far with that because you didn't get the money forthcoming from the government.
There are 2 stories, and it's instructive that you ask me this question, and I'm going to answer this thing. Just as I always put up my hands, I'm putting up my hands. When the matter broke, the person who excavated the land to bring down the road was Johnny Q, the song company man.
And his property is at the old L.J. Williams compound on Bella Road.
Bella Road.
Yeah.
So I took him to court. And the court ruled that we agreed in court that we'll do a geothermal survey. And whoever was found guilty will be held accountable. Well, Johnny Kwan was found guilty. However, I am reliably advised, and so it's a question I want to ask the mayor, but I never get to see the mayor. I want to ask the mayor, is there any truth that he gave instructions to drop the matter against Johnny Kwan? This is a question for the mayor. Is there any truth that you gave the instructions to drop the matter against Johnny Kwan in court? Because Johnny Kwan is a financier and well-wisher to the PNM.
Okay, well, and even if it has reached that state, so that's just it. If they drop the matter against Kwan, but is the corporation, from what you know, doing anything at all to repair the road?
Well, I would say no. But I would say to you also that it is a matter I continued to prosecute even when I was not the mayor. Because nobody's to stop citizen Sharmain Baboolal from lobbying the state to do things on behalf of the community. And I am told that out of the PURE program, out of the Ministry of Works, that monies has been allocated to fix the road. But as mayor, I knew that because I was in discussions with Dr. Rambichan, and I tell you, Dr. Rambichan has done a lot to help Port of Spain. In fact, Dr. Rambichan approved all the unspent balances so that we could have retooled the garbage fleet in Port of Spain. Dr. Rambichan approved the money so that we could finish Desperately Crescent, and I don't know why we haven't finished that community center in Desperately Crescent yet. I want to say to you, our plan was at City that the people in the district, homes have been affected, like Wilkie and all these people, cracks in their homes and what, the drains break up because this thing really mash up the place. So that the benefits that we would have accrued from the court, from Johnny Kwan, we would have used those funds to assist in remedial work to the homes in Augustine Lane. And it also affected Pittman Lane as well. That's the truth. The land movement was so severe, it affected Pittman Lane. Well, with the lawyers being instructed to drop the matter, there are no funds forthcoming to do that. And so we're waiting now for the government now, and this government is now a lame duck government. I don't see that I could, impose upon the Minister of Works to come there and fix road. I have to wait on Dr. Rowley's Minister of Works, who will be input and who I wouldn't even be able to talk to.
It is the voice of Louis Lee Singh, former mayor of Port of Spain from 2010-2013. He's our guest in the remaining moments we have. By the way, that was a very good impersonation of Old Man Lackey's. That was pretty good. In the closing moments, you said something again back in 2000, I believe it was 2012, where you were talking about there seemed to be a move to rip up the history of Trinidad and Tobago and not passing things on to the young folks so they don't understand the contribution of many people, including Dr. Williams, and that is something you were hoping to see addressed and corrected. Have you seen that addressed and corrected?
No. In fact, it has gotten worse. In fact, I think this government has tried to rewrite the history of Trinidad and Tobago. And in a sense, you see it in all different forms and fashions. But I'll tell you something, though. Those of us who know the history have a responsibility to share that wherever we go. And many a Sunday evening, before if I go to play football and it turns out that fellas on the other side are youngsters, if I come and I see like these boys in the thing, I would ask them, I said, stop, tell me, who was the first Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago? Tell me. Tell me. You see? Who was the first Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago? You sure about that? Yeah. It's not Ellis Clark? Or Robinson? You see, that's what is going on in the country.
Oh, just that you listeners know the voices he asked, our video people, they answered correctly?
No, they didn't answer correctly.
Did you not say Dr. Williams in the corner?
Yeah. The older of the two answered correctly.
Oh, okay.
Younger.
I was trying to defend our
He
guy.
just didn't know. And he wasn't sure. When I tell him Ellis Clark, he started to bob and weave. The truth is they don't know. I go to play a game on QRC grounds and they don't know who is the first Prime Minister. So I take the opportunity to walk them through that.
Yes.
And it has to do with the education that we have in the schools. It might be that that aspect of education is not now available. And so the question is, we have to rethink all of these things. But all the groups in the society have a responsibility. I ask all the players to understand that we are not only responsible to our homes and our families, but we're responsible to the people on the streets in which we live. We're responsible to the communities. We're responsible to the country. And that could only come about when we have a much more enlightened and aggressive state of mind across the board in the country.
That is what moved me about a couple of times when you spoke on these issues, because from early one could have seen it was a design for some reason or the other not to pass on the history of the country. And when you said things like that, it was difficult to reach you as mayor. I had to come back here to find you again. Except for our occasion, which has nothing to do with
Rennie,
yes.
The most frightening experience I had in recent times was the destruction of the Greyfriars Church. Think about it.
Most of our listeners don't know. Please go ahead.
That was the first church ever erected in Trinidad and Tobago. It wasn't 100 years. It was more than 100 years. And you gonna tell me, and this is why this government ain't worth being a government. What was the PNM's pronouncement on it? You saw the PNM put out any statement on Greyfriars Church?
Nope.
And that tells you where we are as a society.
Unfortunately, yes.
You follow? And then the mayor says to me that the only person who could deal with that is one man. Man, by Jingo, if I was the mayor, the minute a tractor came there, I was going to lock the gate, put the police, and I go into court. Sunday or no Sunday. You understand? We would have had to find a formula to preserve that church.
Mr. Mayor? Thank you for being here. I never thought someone could actually move you from your position. I saw Sharmain do that very nicely this morning. He starts with the big statement. If I knew you were talking politics, I wouldn't be here. You got pushed, didn't you?
No, but I try not to. Sharmain, the truth is,
she's good. That's what it is.
I may not. I don't know if I said it to you, but I have been turning away interviews all the time. In fact, there's a young man now. You're going to force me. I will have to go to Synergy. There's a young guy there who has been begging me. I really just, I think it's wasting time. It's like casting pearls to swine. Forgive me for saying it like that.
Well, we all feel that way sometimes, even me in my profession,
I
seeing
know.
what it has become. But at the end of the day, there is, when you said that there is no center, there is a huge center, but there is no leadership in that center. And that center is the one that is going to be the determining factor in this elections that's going to come up, where the vote goes. But I do admire you for your stand as a patriot, finding a patriot between the PNM and the PPG. And I think that's the direction, if I am allowed to give an opinion, that the direction that we should be going into, in terms of we think like patriots, and from there, that's where our healing will become.
The country needs something different to what we now have. We are shortchanging ourselves. We are placing ourselves at the mercy of what I dare say, two different cabals. One is an Indian cabal and one is an African cabal. And both cabals are manipulated by people we don't see or we don't know.
I'll tell the truth. I was happy when you singled out Mr. Manning for being a statesman. God knows we need statesmen in here. Louis, thank you so much. Great to see you again, Mr. Mayor.
Gentlemen, it's a joy being here. I must say I enjoyed the chit-chat.
And
It
we
was
can
good.
have
Thank
no
you.
conversation with you without you speaking of politics as much as you declare a
But
stand.
I would have been happy to come and talk about the city, and we could have had an excellent hour.
Oh, but she's that good. We did talk about that too.
No, there is scope to talk about the city and its challenges. You could run an entire series about 10 programs.
But the ideal situation would be to have you and Mr. Timke in studio here today discussing the city.
Well,
at some point.
Except that I don't know that it would serve a useful purpose. It won't. In the book, you would see where I talked about the handover. When I came into office, I didn't get a handover document. And in fact, I sought a meeting with the outgoing mayor, and I asked him, I said, is there anything I should know? He says, yes. Become familiar with your act. I said, no, is there? He said, yes. And then I realized what was playing out. I wrote this book because when I went, I said it in the preface, when I couldn't find in any one place in Port of Spain, in the city corporation, the thoughts, the thinking, the work of my predecessors. And I was the 40th mayor. In addition to that, I felt it was important as I demitted office to do a proper handover document. And I wrote a fairly thick document outlining, it's in the book, outlining all the different things that I felt should concern the incoming mayor.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Radio Man, we have gone past my schedule.
Aye.
And thank you very much.
No, but Sharmain, and I asked him for half an hour to hand over the document. 2 weeks passed and I didn't hear from him. I called his pulley, Telly Paul, and Mayor Paul said, I'll leave that to me, I'll get it. A month passed and I didn't hear from him.
By which time you had fallen out of grace with the leadership of the People's National Movement, Mr. Lee Singh, which explains why you were not listened to.
I got to thank you. We are past my time
Yeah,
now.
but I also sent him the document. So he should have an understanding of fundamentals.
Okay.
We thank you all so much for joining us inside Brunch. I mean, thank you very much for a nice morning.
And we had as our first guest Darius Figueroa, as we tried to unravel drug trafficking and its impact on the economy and its impact on campaign financing, which Mr. Figueroa showed us by his personal experience is not something that anyone wants to pursue. And we've had Louis Lee Singh, who has moved from the politics of the PNM to the politics of being a patriot.
Yes. I thank you all so much. Remember to join us for the morning show from 6 until 9 o'clock Monday through Friday. Have yourself a wonderful weekend. Keep it locked in here at 107.7. Have a wonderful day.